All right, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Lee Dillard. Thanks, everyone, for signing on. This webinar is essentially giving you some information about the convention, which is being hosted in Atlanta. I'm the convention chair, and I'll be joined in this webinar tonight by Shannon Schrader and Elfie Gabriel. We're also assisted by Naaman Kent in the central office, so he is running things behind the show. Next slide, please. So just to give you an overview of what we'll talk about tonight, we are going to talk about the convention itself, who's eligible, what to present, what kinds of things to present, how to do that, awards that are presented at the convention. I do want to just remind you that the slides from this presentation will be available after the presentation, and we are also recording. So they won't be available immediately, but you can access them later in the week or next week. So just stay tuned about that. But the information is accessible. So I'm not really going to spend a lot of time reading to you because I know we're all good readers, but I want to just talk to you a little bit and give you some information about this event that we're really excited about. Next slide. So to give you some highlights about the Atlanta Convention, it is at the end of March, beginning of April, that last weekend. The host hotel is the Sheraton Atlanta Hotel. There will be 3 days of sessions, and our featured speakers are Nick Stone and Richard Blanco. Both of whom have a number of books that will, I think, be of interest to our members, to our advisors, to those who are who love reading and love literature in its many forms. I also just want to say, in terms of the Sheraton Atlanta Hotel, it's nestled in the heart of downtown. So it's a great location for walking to local restaurants and things like that. But it's also easy to get to from the Atlanta airport as well. And I hope that a number of you will be coming in from out of town. In terms of who attends, we have generally 1,000 or more attendees, both Sigma Tau Delta and Sigma Kappa Delta members. We also have Sigma Tau Delta alumni members and a host of faculty and advisors or faculty advisors. Next slide, please. So one of the big questions, especially as we're trying to convince you to return to a face-to-face event, is why should I go to a convention? There are lots of opportunities that we offer. Not only are you presenting the work that you have written, but you get to hear presentations from people who are interested in similar things. I mean, I often tell my students, I'm the advisor at the University of North Georgia on the Gainesville campus. I tell my students this is kind of a nerd fest of people that you don't know, but talking about similar topics. And it is really an enjoyable event in that way. You also, of course, get to attend readings and workshops by Nick Stone and Richard Blanco. They'll both be doing book signings as well. We'll have a local bookstore on site. So if you don't have copies of books by Nick Stone and Richard Blanco, you can certainly buy them on site and get them to sign them as part of the event that we're offering to you. We also have leadership workshops hosted by our outstanding student leadership team. And it's just an opportunity, as I said, to network, to get to know people, and to enjoy some face-to-face time, we hope, in Atlanta. Next slide. So in terms of who's eligible to submit, again, Sigma Tau Delta members, Sigma Kappa Delta members, and Alumni Epsilon chapter members. We also offer those who are transfer students into Sigma Tau Delta chapters or into universities that have Sigma Tau Delta chapters. They are eligible to submit as well as provisional members. Next slide, please. And in terms of what to submit, we, of course, offer opportunities to present either a creative or a critical paper, one paper on the Common Reader, and the Common Reader is Nick Stone's Dear Martin, and or one roundtable proposal. So we do limit the presentations. You can't present all 4 of these, but we do ask that you consider your best work and put that best work forward. But I think we offer a wide range of possibilities for you. Next. So I want to talk a little bit about one form of the submissions that you will do, the paper submissions. So I'll talk about the critical essays as well as the creative essays. Um, and I'll also say here that the key thing, there is so much information on english.org, our website, that all of this information is found there. And we have a special site dedicated to the convention. All the guidelines are listed there. So again, really what I'm doing is just kind of talking about these ideas, but all of this information we've been really thoughtful and deliberate about putting forward to you on our website. So please do check that out too. So in terms of the critical papers, we have set guidelines, no more than 2,000 words. The whole paper is what you submit. So some other conferences allow you to submit just an abstract. But because we're also judging paper awards at this time, we ask that you submit the complete paper, and Shannon's going to talk about some paper awards in just a moment. We do also, as part of the organizing effort for this convention, we ask that you select topic lists and also select keywords. So that helps us put you into panels with, again, similar topics, similar methodologies, etc. Next slide. We also welcome creative works, and we always have a fantastic variety of both poetry and prose. So as you see here, we still have some word limits on prose and time limits on readings of poetry. But again, it's a great opportunity to read something you've workshopped, an opportunity to, again, share your work. So similarly, you'll also have the opportunity to select keywords so that we can place them in the appropriate panels. Next slide. We do also have, as I mentioned before, paper submissions that we welcome about Dear Martin, Nick Stone's novel that is The Common Reader. We hope that you are enjoying this novel. We hope that you're thinking about perhaps hosting a Common Reader event at your local chapter. But this is a great opportunity to respond to the Common Reader, or to show the influence that the Common Reader has had in your thought process. So paper submissions that refer to the Common Reader, you'll have an opportunity in the submission process to indicate that this is responding to the Common Reader or informed by the Common Reader. You will also see here, as part of the requirements, need to include a description that indicates how this paper is connected to the Common Reader. Next slide. So perhaps the most important thing, I think that this slide is really helpful, and I hope that you really pay attention here. This is a process. Submitting a paper to a conference is a process, and we do have a deadline, that's November 1st, but do not wait until November 1st. So we hope that because you're here, whether you're an advisor or a student member, we hope that this means you're at least intrigued about the convention. Start this process now. Begin thinking about what paper you can submit. Advisors, begin thinking about how you can recruit students to submit to the convention, and get this process going early. I always encourage my students to not only bring the paper to me to let me help with the sort of review process, but also to return to the professor they wrote the paper for. Of course, having made some revisions to show that they're serious about carrying this conversation forward. Follow the formatting guidelines, choose a title that's within the correct length. Make sure that your paper is anonymous, because we do a blind peer review process, and make sure that you adhere to that 2,000 word limit. Keep in mind too, again, this is a process. We're working on the website. The submission details will be announced further, or in terms of where to submit and when that submission window is open. Be on the lookout for an email in the next week or so to give you further updates on that. And also, just as a general rule, be on the lookout for emails from the central office from Sigma Tau Delta. There is a ton of information that's provided from the various advisors from the central office who has a lot of information to share with you. So just make sure you're on the lookout for those messages as well. I think that's the last of my slides, right? So turning it over now to my colleague, Shannon Schrader, who will talk to you about awards and roundtables.
So I get to talk about fun things, giving money away, being one of those. And, if I ask students what sticks out for them from convention, it's certainly having the opportunity to go to panels and listen to, go to sessions and listen to students from across the globe, actually. But I also think they enjoy hearing about those noteworthy works, including their own, right? Especially when they happen to be convention award winners. So we do have 2 general rounds of awards that happen. We have convention awards that come that are specialized for particular areas. So if you're early Brit Lit, we might have convention awards specific to that kind of critical essay, but we also have awards that are for the poets in the group, for the prose writers, for creative nonfiction. And then we have overall awards for those best presentations among all those award winners. And the advantage there, of course, is that it does not matter what category or genre you submitted for. We have some specialized awards. 2 of them are new to us this year. I'm going to highlight, actually, in just a second, highlight the Stemler-Dennis LGBT and Award. But I want to get to that Beth DeMeo Poetry Award as well. We will have a special award this year. It celebrates the life of Beth DeMeo. She was a beloved advisor for many, many years, and also was on the board for Sigma Tau Delta. She helped to shape this organization. She served as a convention chair. She did everything. And so poetry was one of her loves, and we're celebrating her with an award that will go on from here, and remember her by name. The Sigma Kappa Delta Awards also come out during this convention. And the nice thing there is we don't always get to interact with our 2-year colleagues. And so both Sigma Tau Delta and Sigma Kappa Delta get recognized in the same ceremony. And finally, last but not least, we have alumni who return every year for convention. And those awards represent the work that they've continued to do, often as employees in positions that don't let them be very creative, and then they get to come back to convention and share creative works. Next slide, please. I want to just take a second and focus on this one. Sigma Tau Delta is very interested in diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And one of our newest awards recognizes those interests, those goals. The Stemler-Dennis LGBT and Award is named for 2 former board members, 2 former advisors for this organization, people who have won Delta Awards, which is sort of the high point of being a professional in this organization. They've given back now to the organization, and in giving back, they're asking, they're inviting people to apply for a specific award during convention. You'll notice there are a couple of requirements here. That's not necessarily going to be true for, you won't have to check boxes maybe for other awards, but for this one, if your work falls within this category and you want to be considered, you would specifically select those keywords as you submit, okay? Next slide. I'm also going to cover the roundtable. So where the paper is sort of the solo effort, your own work, and then we sort of put you into categories. The roundtable is slightly different. The roundtable is your opportunity maybe to reach out to a chapter near you, to a university halfway across the country, and to create that sort of, Lee said it best earlier, that nerd fest moment for yourself where your similar interests can merge into one cohesive presentation. It always includes Q&A, and in fact, I think it leans most heavily on that, maybe even more so than individual presentations. It generally, a roundtable generally has between 3 and 5 participants, in addition to a moderator who sort of helps to inform the discussion and to lead the Q&A. And it also is submitted this time, not by an advisor, but exclusively either by the student or by an alumni member. And that is a slight modification to how roundtables work this year. So we want to make sure that we bring that up. Next slide. The roundtable itself can be on any topic, right? We don't dictate any particular topic, but we do recommend some. So our suggested roundtable topics are here. When you get to the stage where you're ready to submit your roundtable, you'll have a drop-down menu which offers these specific topics. But in addition, you can, of course, generate your own topic. I'd just like to highlight a couple of these suggested topics here. You'll see that the Common Reader comes up. Those are not only incredibly popular roundtables, but occasionally we have a Common Reader author who stops by, who's interested in hearing what students have to say about their work. And then I also want to mention that the convention theme, that action, that call to action, is one of the special topics that we invite roundtable submissions on. Next slide. Roundtable proposals. You can see here, we do ask for an abstract this time. So whereas we're looking at your whole paper on, Walt Whitman, here during roundtable presentations, proposals, we're asking you to give us essentially that short view of it, a 50-word abstract. So you can imagine how short that is. And then a slightly longer version of the abstract, 250 words. And we share those in different ways, but that's really how and where you sell to us your idea, and you show us how you're incorporating input and membership from a variety of chapters, because really we're going to privilege the outreach that isn't just one chapter putting together this proposal, but maybe Lee's students working with my students, and so Georgia and Arkansas unite in that moment, right? Wonder Twins activate. That's a really old reference. We will ask for a bibliography, so keep that in mind. So we're going to ask you to give us some evidence of scholarship or advanced thought and research that has gone into that proposal. And we will ask for AV needs. This is, audiovisual supplies are sometimes hard to come by at a convention. They can get really pricey, but roundtables sometimes get the luxury of working with AV. So if you need it, you need to ask up front so that we know. All right, I believe this is the last from me. And so I get to turn this over to Elfie Gabriel, who is the Director of Marketing and Technology for the entire organization. So Elfie, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to explain how you actually submit. And the first thing to do is go over to englishconvention.org, and you'll see a tab there for submissions. Under submissions, you'll find the details of how to format, for example, your papers, and it will also give you lists of the topics. So it will have a lot more detail there, and it will guide you before you even get into the submission. We will be shooting for opening our submissions on Thursday, October 7th. We originally said we've been delaying it a little bit. This is a brand new submission form, and so we want to make sure we get it exactly right. One of the good things about it is it does have a lot of information which we can put into the form that kind of helps and guides you as to what's the next step to do and how do I do something. So I think it will be really helpful in that way. Second is an important fact is that this is a totally different submission. So you're going to create a brand new account. And here's the page where you put in, create a new user account. I put in my name over on already a user, but if I were a new user, they'd ask me for my email address, my name, and there's some other optional information you can put in there right away, or you can put it in later as your profile as you move further into the convention process. So the access key that you see right here is basically a password. It just needs to be a mix of characters and other symbols. And if you forget it, don't worry about it. The password reset is, or access key reset is very easy to use. Next slide. So in between that slide and this side, there's one thing that you'll need to do, and everybody needs to do this for everything that we collect, is how the data will be used consent form. And there you'll need to read the information, check a box, and enter your name. So then you come to the submission process. You will create a new submission, and this page actually shows you what that looks like. The first thing you do is put the title in, and then you select your submission type, which is going to be either a critical essay, a creative work, a common reader, or a roundtable. And then you select your membership. And one thing to remember is that you have a choice of either one critical essay or one creative work. And if you have a work, if you have written something on the common reader, great, you have an extra submission. And third, you may also submit a roundtable. So that's pretty much it for what I'm going to show you as far as that process. Really keep an eye out for our messaging, because we will have a lot more about this coming up. As I said, don't be afraid to start early. In fact, we seriously recommend you do, because you can always log in later on again and finish your submission. So it's not complete until you say it's complete. And now I'm going to turn it over for Q&A. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not turning over for Q&A yet. I'm going to tell you first about important dates. So the submission period, October 7th until November 1st. We have a hard deadline at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And you will want to know if your paper is accepted. And that goes out on December 15th. Earlier than that, the roundtables go out, and they go out on November 16th. For roundtables, we do need a confirmation by December 6th. And for papers, it will be January 18th. That confirmation will actually be a form that you have to fill out, and there's some information that we'll need from you right there. And then, very important, anybody who is participating in the in the convention does need to get registered. And that registration for presenters and anybody who wants to get that early rate is January 4th. Now I'll turn it over for questions.
Great. Thanks, Elfie. So again, we thank all of you for being here. If you do have questions, then please type them in the Q&A box. You should have access to the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. I also just scrolled through the chat, and I didn't see any questions pop up in the chat box. But again, just type a question that you have for us in the Q&A so that we can address it. One thing I do want to say, I know we have a number of board members on the call, a number of regents who are joining us too. Advisors, if you're looking to try to help your students form a roundtable, as Shannon said, making connections through advisors can sometimes be easier than trying to find a student at a particular university. So use the advisor networks you have, get in touch with your regents, or if you, if any of you have roundtable ideas that you want to forward to me or Shannon, then let us know, because we are, of course, are interested in getting our students active on those roundtables as well. So the first question I see is AV available for creative or critical works presentations? Generally, no. As Shannon noted, it's a pricey thing, and it's unfortunate, but we make it work. So we do ask that that for creative and critical presentations that you plan not to have AV.
Now, that said, we have had students in the past who are, on it, and they either bring a handout along. If they're talking about artwork, for example, and they want to show that, they want people in the room to have, access to it. But we also have, every once in a while, we have someone who shares like a website, or, they'll share a link, and it's something that they're, everyone can go to, or they offer you their Instagram account so that everyone can go look at their materials, or whatever sort of audio visual is lacking in the room, they can supplement it. All right. Do you want to?
Yeah. So our next question about where we can find the slides. Elfie, will you tell us where the slides will be available? Or
sure.
In other words, just stay tuned. But
no, here's what we do is, so we're going to write a thank you letter to you guys, and we'll be sending that out probably tomorrow afternoon. The slides will be all available then. And it takes us a few days to render and make our video really nice. So that will be available later next week. In fact, what I'm hoping is that on Thursday, when we open up submissions, we'll also include information about that.
Can I just tackle Christine's question here? She's asking about, what if your advisor maybe isn't in that network, or you don't have an advisor who will reach out for you? It's unfortunate. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes that person might surprise you, so you can start there, of course. But do reach out to Lee, right? Lee's available to you as convention chair. Her information is going to be available on the website. Reach out to your regent, because your regent, so you're in the Southwest region with me, maybe, Southwest region with me, and maybe you haven't spoken to that person in person, but that doesn't matter, right? Dr. Azell is going to be able to step in and say, oh, it took me 10 minutes. I had 3 people who contacted me as soon as they heard someone was interested in Jane Austen, or that someone wants to do something with graphic novels. We have already 3 people just from our region. And also he can share with other regions. So we will help find people who are interested in the same topics. You just may have to sort of reach out higher up that chain.
And I will add to that. Thanks for that, Shannon. So I just put my email address in the chat box, but also you can find, if you don't know who your regent is, you didn't even know you had a regent or whatever that is, you can find email addresses for all of the regents, for the board members and their university locations, but also for the student leaders. So it might even be that you have a student leader who is nearby you, who might be able to help with this networking as well. That's all available on our website, right, Alfie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on the about part. It's on the far left if I'm navigating down the menus.
Thank you for mentioning student leadership.
In touch with us.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And the student leaders are a fantastic network. They're of course also available through Facebook. There are regional Facebook pages, and if you are active on Facebook, then that's certainly a possibility as well.
So thanks for reminding everybody about that. I'll make sure that that goes out in our messaging as well. There was a question about adding information to the app. So right now, we've been, as I mentioned, we're pulling together a lot of new technology, but it looks like we're going to use the same app that we had used for the last couple years, if some people are remembering that. And it is not the same system as the system that we're using for submissions. We're probably going to move that way in the future. So there will be some ways to share, but exactly where, I don't have all the details yet. That's going to be coming up, but there will be ways, because you're going to have a profile in the app that basically says, here I am, here's what I have. And if you have a paper, or if you are a Roundtable participant, your information is going to be linked to there. And certainly the Roundtable information, there are going to be uploads that you can put up from there. With papers, as I said, that's a little bit different, but there'll certainly be contact information.
Yeah.
And the app is a fantastic resource. It's a great way to plan your schedule, to figure out what room you need to go to, but who's speaking where, and also to keep you on schedule. But yeah, it's a great resource that is kind of part of the package of attending the convention. I do just want to jump to the question about attending the convention. So you do not have to present to attend. There is a non-presenters registration fee. And it might be that you've never presented and you don't know what it's about, but you want to just give it a try. Come to Atlanta and join us for the event. So absolutely, please do that. And I've had students who have done that in the past. And maybe they were a younger member in my chapter, and then the next year they were able to present because they saw, oh, it's not actually as intimidating as I thought, or it's really cool, or whatever. But yes, attending as a non-presenter, absolutely an option.
So Lee, let me answer that sort of the other way too, in case this is if I present, do I have to attend to present? Because that is a question we get, and that one is true, right? We will not, if we accept the paper and you decide, oh, I can't really attend, it happens. It happens over and over again. Other things come up, and it's absolutely fine, but it does mean that you would not be eligible to, present from afar, or send someone to read in your stead. And you would not be eligible for convention awards.
Thank you, Shannon, for actually answering the question.
No, but I think it could go either way. It could either go either way. So,
right. Yeah. But I do want to add one other opportunity, and that is that each session has a moderator and a chair for papers. And if you either haven't been accepted for a paper, even if you have been accepted for a paper, or if you're just coming to convention and you want to be part of it, you do have the opportunity to be a chair at the convention. Really what you're doing is making sure that the room is organized, that everybody's there together, that they're ready to start, etc. It's not a very difficult job, but it is something. Right. It is something fun where you can kind of jump a little bit more into the whole session process.
And there's an additional advantage to that, Elfie, and that is, I can tell you as an advisor, sometimes if I have a student who's on the program, that's enough to secure them some funding from our school. Even if they aren't presenting a paper, if they have a role on the program, I can get them some funding. So that might be a way to ease into the convention. And then the next year, like Lee said, you jump in, both feet first and present.
Absolutely.
Can papers accepted for the convention be submitted for publication with one of our journals as well? Shannon, do you want to answer that? You're not.
Yes. The answer is yes, absolutely. They can go both places. it behooves you, of course, to take into account some of the feedback you got from other members in the same session, from people who were asking questions, and to tweak it, to take that as an opportunity. But absolutely, we see people use those same papers moving forward, and also for the William C. Johnson scholarship, so that so you can get a lot of bang for your buck out of that one great submission that you spent a lot of time on. It's a good question.
I want to just return to a question I saw pop up in the chat by Christine about the app. So it's an app that you'll find out about through those emails from the central office. I'm pointing this way because that's where Alfie is on my screen.
Actually, you're this way for me.
Over there.
So it's not an app, a commercially available app. It's an app specific to the event. And it's something that's tailored to what we do. So it's nothing you need to download now. It's something that that you'll get more information about as the date approaches.
Right. The app is a convention event app, and so it's used specifically for the convention, and it will be available to you 1 to 2 weeks before. So what really happens is, just to kind of move things forward, we need to get all the confirmations back on who's actually attending convention. They need to confirm that, yes, I want to present, but they also have to, you also have to register. And we go through the long lists, and then what we do is the massive job of putting all these papers together in sessions that make some sense. Shannon and Lee are both, on that, have done that for years, and so do a number of our other advisors. And then what happens is we confirm that, and we confirm that because things change. We add the moderators and the chairs to it. And then what we do is we come up with a full schedule. That schedule will be out in early February. And then from there, we probably still have another revision. And that's when we put all the information, we load it up into our app, we make sure it's right. And so that's why the app is actually not available until a couple weeks before the convention opens. But what's nice about it is it has all the sessions in it. It has all the information about all the events that are going on, the fun events, the workshops, the speakers, where to go for merchandise, all kinds of things, and even like where to go out for food. So that's why it's going to be your tool, your place to go for everything for the convention.
Great. So what other questions? By the way,
are there any more questions?
Poking them.
We're running a little over, but I hope everybody still has time to stay on.
The app is just called Sigma-Tau Delta. Like you literally download.
We'll be sending you. We will be sending you. It's an invite that we'll send you, and you'll get the information to download it. It will be very simple. But it won't be open until we say it's open.
Yeah, it'll be available in Google and Apple both. So, I mean, or Android and Apple. Sorry. It'll be available in everything.
Let's see. How far in advance do you announce the theme for the convention every year?
Good question. Usually
that's a good question.
1 year in advance. There's sort of a big reveal moment for the upcoming theme for the next convention, and that's kind of a moment that the future chair gets to step in and talk about at convention. So we sort of know, maybe 18 months out, at least a year in advance.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? How can you ask that? I mean, you can chat with me if it.
Yes, great, excellent. So, cool. In the interest of time, I mean, we're certainly welcome to, we certainly welcome more questions, but let the big takeaway here be two things. One is be on the lookout for messaging from the central office that is labeled Sigma Tau Delta something, because there is so much information that we send you that's important information. But two, we're here to answer questions. That counts for me, for Shannon, for Elfie. Elfie ends up answering a lot of your questions through the Sigma Tau Delta, through the central office. But the regents are here. The student leaders are absolutely here to help with these things. And, you know, so we hope that this has at least given you some indication of how excited we are about the convention, but also has maybe gotten you a little bit excited about it too. So, you know, get in touch with us as you have other questions, but thanks again for your time tonight. Don't have anything else? All right.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. It was
Thanks,
a pleasure.
Bye.
Goodbye.